Welcome back to T. Shaw's Progressive Bluegrass. I've got a really exciting episode. Today I've got John Boulware, currently plays mandolin with Randy Steele in the High Cold Wind. And the reason for the timing of today's episode is Randy Steele and the High Cold Wind have entered the Telluride Bluegrass Festival Band Contest. Many of you enjoy music from bands that have won that contest, from Green Sky Bluegrass to the Fretliners, Full Chord, and on and on. So today we're going to have a two-part episode. Today's episode is going to introduce John Boulware to you, the listeners, and get to know him a little bit, and then we're going to have a follow-up episode shortly after Telluride, and we can ideally talk about them winning the band contest. If not, we'll still have a lot of cool things to talk about from Telluride and everything that took place on their trip out there. For those of you that have been listening to T. Shaw's Progressive Bluegrass for a while, are familiar with my intro music. My intro music is actually written by John Boulware, and he performed fiddle on it in a band Slim Pickens that we're going to talk about later today. He also performed fiddle on my outro music, also a Slim Pickens song. In addition, John not only produced my mortgage jingle, but he also performed mandolin on it. So without further ado, let's jump into my conversation with John Boulware. John Boulware, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Trevor. I appreciate you having me. It's good to be here.
I would describe you as a true bluegrass extraordinaire. You have come up in previous episodes in some way, shape, or form, but you're no stranger to T. Shaw's Progressive Bluegrass.
That's
and
right.
Now I'm excited that my listeners, my viewers, finally get to put a face with a name, or at least a voice with a name, and it's great to finally have you here.
Absolutely. Excited to be a part of it. We've been talking about it for a while. I'm glad we got to make it happen.
Jumping in, you've got a really awesome history. I originally was introduced to you when you were playing in Slim Pickens, a local bluegrass band, and that was, I believe the band formed in 2006. Does that sound right? And I think I saw you for the first time in 2009.
Yeah, 2006, 2007, somewhere in there. I just moved up to Chattanooga for college. I went to UTC, and those guys found me teaching at a music store, and I just joined a trio that they already had, and the rest is all downhill from there.
I always have considered, and I still do, Slim Pickens was the great local band. They still exist. But in 2022, kind of a spin-off, several members plus a few additional outsiders joined Randy Steele and the High Cold Wind.
Yes.
And one of the unique aspects of that transition, this is more of a professional bluegrass band project with intentions to travel and take on gigs beyond just a local hobby, but you played fiddle for years in Slim Pickens, and I never knew you'd played anything other than fiddle. And then when you went to High Cold Wind, you switched to the mandolin. Mm-hmm. What kind of triggered that change?
So what's funny is most people didn't know that I played anything but fiddle for most of my life. I actually started with guitar. So I played guitar first and then fiddle, and then guitar plus fiddle equals mandolin. So it was a natural progression. And then I picked up, a little bit of banjo, a little bit of bass, a little bit of, I have a dozen instruments hanging on my wall that I could go through. But I've picked up a lot of things through the years, but I've mostly been known as a fiddle player. Almost everything that I like to tell people that about 95% of my life has been fiddle stuff. And then the other remaining percent is just split between guitar, mandolin, bass, all the other things. But yeah, most people know me as a fiddle player. When I grew up doing competition stuff and playing in bluegrass bands, fiddle players, particularly good fiddle players, are harder to find than a lot of other instruments just because the instrument itself is such a bear. So not a lot of people stick with it enough to get into the advanced game. But yeah, I just largely played fiddle more than anything else for most of my life. When I started playing with Randy Steele, again, I'd been playing fiddle in Slim Pickens for all those years. So we were already, had been playing together for a long, long time. But then when I started playing with Randy Steele and High Cold Wind, we needed a good mandolin, and of that particular group that we were working with at the time, I think I ended up filling in on mandolin for the first little while. And then we realized that the sound that we had with me on mandolin just worked, so we stuck with it. And honestly, I was kind of happy to be playing something other than fiddle. It's kind of funny to say because I the fiddle is my love. It is my what I would call my first instrument. It is the language that I speak the most fluently. But I also play other instruments, and as you said, not a lot of people know that. So I was always eager at the chance to play guitar, to play mandolin, to play some bass, to play electric guitar, to play whatever else that I could, just because I like playing a variety of instruments, and I've really only ever played fiddle up to that point. So it was nice to step into a role that was consistently on another instrument. And I got a nicer mandolin, and I really just kind of grew into that and have really fallen in love with playing the mandolin, especially with Randy.
Well, it's been really enjoyable seeing both aspects. Very lucky and unique being in Chattanooga that I've gotten to see both directions.
Sure.
You had mentioned you first started playing guitar before you picked up the fiddle. I don't know if I've ever met anybody that plays fiddle that didn't start with fiddle.
Huh? That's an interesting. Yeah, I guess that there are some people. A lot of people will say that as far as musicians, it's talent. You either have it or you don't. And I think that's a straight up lie. I think that talent is something that you can learn. You can reprogram your brain to think like a musician, and that's basically what I attribute to talent, is just a predisposition to thinking like a musician. But especially in the world of fiddle, few people pick up the fiddle and stick with it, and the people who do pick up a fiddle and stick with it, I think, are just of a different mindset, a different kind of person that just really likes that instrument. The fiddle really speaks to some people, and it doesn't speak to others. Some people like it, but not enough to dedicate their life to it, so to speak. And I pretty much have. It grabbed me. My grandfather, my mom's dad, Bryce Bagley, he was a fiddle player. He had a stroke before I was old enough to remember, so I never got to hear him play. But talking to other family members and everything, he played in a square dance band in Chester, South Carolina, and I actually have his amplifier sitting over here that he used to run his fiddle and his Telecaster through. But anyway, he was a fiddle player. But I wouldn't say that it was a family tradition because neither of my parents really played anything.
How did you get introduced to it?
Yeah, well, actually, growing up, my brother and I were taking music lessons. I'll back up a minute. We were in Boy Scouts. My brother was a hardcore Boy Scout, went on to be an Eagle, and my dad was a troop leader. So I was in Boy Scouts for a while with my brother, and we went to this camp out, and I saw a guy playing "Smoke on the Water" on the guitar. Ba, 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 da. And I thought that was the coolest thing I had ever seen in my life. The fact, because I had heard music. My mom listened to US 101, the local country station, and then my dad listened to KZ 106, the local classic rock station. So we had music going on, but I didn't know that music was a thing people did. I thought it was just something that came on the radio that you heard, or something you saw in a movie that you heard.
Yeah.
And then I saw a dude actually play guitar out in the wilderness, and I thought, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. I have got to do this. So I begged my parents for an acoustic guitar for my birthday, and they got me one. And after hearing just, so many weeks of TV jingles and whatever else I could pick out by ear, they were like, I can't stand this anymore. We have to get him some lessons. So we went down to I was living in Kimball, Tennessee at the time, and we went down to the local music store in South Pittsburgh called the Opera House Music, which is actually an old opera house. It's a really cool building. But anyway, we just went there, bought a guitar, went there, just got lessons from whoever the guy was who happened to be teaching. And the guy that happened to be teaching there is actually a phenomenal guitar player named Cody Kilby. I couldn't have just stumbled into better luck.
How lotto luck winning is that?
Absolutely.
How old were you at this point?
I was 11.
Okay.
Yeah. So
and Cody was not known as a professional. I mean, outside of he was giving lessons or running the store, or
he was not known at all at that point, basically, and he was just a guy there who happened to be trying to make some money teaching lessons at a music store, like I was in college. That was kind of what he was doing, and I just kind of connected with him on a bluegrass level. What's funny is he showed me a couple of songs. He showed me like a Bob Dylan tune and a Jimi Hendrix tune, and then he showed me St. Anne's Reel, which is a bluegrass tune, and I was just like, that's it. That's the one. That's what I want to learn. And when he figured out that I wanted to learn bluegrass stuff, we just really connected, and he taught me more than I will ever be able to thank him for in just a few short months. And then he went on the road with Ricky Skaggs. So, again, couldn't have looked into a better teacher. But about the time that he left was about the time I started getting more into fiddle. I had already been playing a little bit of fiddle. I still had my grandfather's fiddle that he played.
So, Cody was giving you guitar lessons,
yes,
correct?
Correct.
But not fiddle
Not
lessons.
fiddle. I went to a couple local jams that Cody told me about, and I met a guy named Bob Townsend who happened to be teaching fiddle lessons in the area on South Pittsburgh Mountain. And just since I had a fiddle, we thought, what's the harm in taking a couple fiddle lessons? So I went up and worked with him for a little while, and he gave me a great, great start into the world of fiddle playing. And actually, the first bluegrass band that I ever played with was a group called the Good Old Boys up on Mott Eagle Mountain. And Bob was playing fiddle with them at the time, but he didn't have the time to continue playing with them. He had a lot of irons in the fire. He was running festivals and things, and he just didn't have time to play fiddle with them. But I started just tagging along with him to their weekly practices. And sure enough, Bob was just like, hey, John, why don't you just take my place? And I just started playing gigs with the Good Old Boys. And I played with them for about the first 6 years of my musical life, I guess. And I was kind of just thrown to the wolves. I was the only fiddle player in the band, and I was 12. I didn't know what I was doing. So I just had to kind of, try to eke out some melodies from what the singer was doing, try to copy some of what the banjo player was doing, or the three guitar players in the band. It was just a.
And was this a paying gig?
It was, yeah. It was low paying, but I was 12, so I didn't mind. I didn't know.
Yeah, but you had a paying gig at 12 years old?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I did. It wasn't a full-time gig. Obviously, I was a student. I was like in 5th grade. Who knows? So,
Sure.
so it wasn't like something that I was trying. I already thought, I'm going to make a living out of this. I was just a kid playing fiddle, and I was happy to make $40 every now and again. So we just had a good time. And it gave, most importantly, it gave me an outlet to go practice my craft, to actually go do the thing. And not just running some scales in the bedroom, not just practicing the song over and over a few times, but to actually go out in front of people and play a show and have to be on stage. I was lucky enough to be around. I always tell people that when I was in high school, middle school, I was a complete nerd, had basically no friends in school. I got along with everyone, but I didn't really have any good friends that I hung out with because all of my good friends were in their 70s playing bluegrass at the Pickens on the weekends. So everybody that I grew up being friends with were just these old guys that were just these bluegrass musicians. So I had a lot of really good mentors over the years, but I never really made friends my age. It was always just whoever was at all these bluegrass jams. Clayton Blevins was a fiddle player in New Hope outside South Pittsburgh. And when I had first started playing and just started going to some jams, he made me get on stage with him. And I didn't want to. I said, I don't know this song. I don't know how to play in this key. He said, it doesn't matter. Get up here. So he made me get up on stage with him and play beside him and just kind of copy what he was doing. And through the generosity of a lot of people like, Clayton Blevins and Charles Breedlove and Terry Hatfield, a lot of the people that I played with through the years, I got into playing in a lot of bands and playing shows. And it was just something that was never foreign to me because I basically was in it to a small degree from the beginning.
That's outrageous.
On a small
That is really
scale,
awesome.
but it was still enough to give me the fire and the urge to want to go play more.
Have you ever had a job that wasn't a professional musician?
No, I never have. I want
You
to say
truly have only been a professional musician.
that's right. I want to say I am
Never flip burgers.
truly grateful for that experience. I know that's not a thing that a lot of people can say, and I owe a lot of that, if not all of that, to my parents who carted me around to all of these lessons. For the long, long time, I used to take lessons from a guy named Jim Wood, and we would drive an hour and a half to his house and an hour and a half back every single week just for fiddle lessons. And then I had the gigs with the Good Old Boys. I had the gigs with Janice Burgess
hour and a
the
half?
Backtrackers. Oh, yeah. Every week. And
Oh,
that's
my.
actually kind of an interesting story how I got hooked up with Jim. When I was taking fiddle lessons from Bob Townsend still, I'd been playing for maybe 2 years, playing fiddle for maybe 2 years. And I went to a fiddle contest in Lynchburg, and, I just played a couple of songs that I knew, and I just got up there, had a good time. Didn't do so great, but I did okay. Ended up coming in third, I think, in this contest.
What was the motivation to enter a contest? I mean,
to be honest, I don't even know that I knew it was a contest. I think it was just a festival to me. I was like, oh, there's a festival in Lynchburg. Yeah, let's go jam. Let's go play with some other people.
Bluegrass.
And then it turns out there was a fiddle contest, and I thought, well, I could enter. I could play a couple of tunes, and who knows what'll happen. So I think I ended up getting third. It was a pretty small festival anyway. But one of the judges in the competition was Jim Wood. And so Jim ended up coming up to my parents after the competition and saying, hey, I would love to teach your child. He obviously has some talent, and I think I could make him into a really good fiddle player. Can I teach your kid? And they said, well, he's already got a fiddle teacher. We don't really, we're not interested. I appreciate it, whatever. And then for the next several weeks, Jim Wood did not stop calling our house. He would just call, and he would talk to my parents, and he would try to convince them as to why he needed to be the one to teach me. And eventually they broke down and just said, you know what? Sure, we'll come take a fiddle lesson or two from you and just see what's up. And Jim is responsible for probably 60% or more of my music knowledge and education. He's a magnificent musician, a Berklee student. He plays dozens of instruments. He has, $500,000, $1 million recording studio. I mean, he's just the consummate professional. And he is such a stickler for perfection that growing up learning to play under him, I think, was the best thing that could have happened to me musically. Because we just meshed in a certain sort of perfectionistic kind of way, I guess. He is a very perfectionist kind of teacher, and I was a very much perfectionist kind of kid. I wanted things to be right, so we just kind of got along, and he apparently saw whatever talent I had, and we just ended up working together through the years, and we still talk on the phone all the time. He'll call, and we talk for hours, and we still play a handful of shows a year, like weddings and things like that, but it's all things that he showed me. I mean, honestly, if I had the time, I would still be taking lessons from him because he's just amazing. But yeah, we still work together. We still talk. He's a fantastic musician. And actually, I know you've had James Key on this podcast before from East Nashgrass. The fiddle player from that band, Matty Denton, also took lessons from Jim. So the whole time we were growing up, she and I were kind of rivals in contests. At a lot of these things that we went to, real small festivals or whatever, if we were both there, it was kind of like a question of like, well, who's getting second, because we were both very much in the contest vein, and we knew the game, and we knew how to.
Was your teacher at those festivals as well?
Sometimes
kind of
Jim
like
would be there,
a coach,
and he, if he happened to be there, he would back me up. Sometimes he was judging those contests, so he couldn't play with me, obviously. But his dad, who I called Big Jim, his name was Jim Wood as well, but I called him Big Jim. He was my backup guy. He was my go-to backup guy that I could call at the drop of a hat. I could just say, hey, Big Jim, I'm going to Clarksville. Do you want to come back me up? He said, sure. And I asked him one time, I said, why do you just come every time I call you? Why do you never, be like, I've got stuff to do, never mind. He said, well, I always know that if I'm backing you up, that I'm going to make money that day. He knew that I would go there and do pretty well in the contest, and I would give him a cut from what I made. So he had a lot of faith in me. But he also had a lot of really between Jim and Big Jim, those two guys were my contest rock for all the years that I was in competitions, and I did a lot of that stuff. As a teenager, that's what I did. I went to fiddle competitions, and I worked up these hard arrangements of things, and I would just go and play all these contests and try to podium in as many as I could. And I have a wall, not to brag, I'm really not, but I do have a wall full of trophies and certificates and whatever over the years that really are just good reminders of all of those cool times that I had. And one of my favorite parts of going to all of those was not the actual competition itself. It was jamming in the hallways with the other people who were about to go compete against me. We would just be like, oh, I'm up next, but we got like 3 minutes, so let's jam on this one tune. So we would just be playing fiddle tunes in the
A
hallways.
friendly
all the time.
rivalry.
A very friendly rivalry. Yeah. I feel like fiddle competitions when I was growing up, it was really more like a kind of reunion or a gathering that just happened to have a competition going on. You know, they say I went to a fight and a hockey game broke out. It's kind of like I went to a jam
Sure.
and a fiddle contest broke out, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, you are very modest. You won the Tennessee State Fiddle Championship in 2006.
Correct, yes. I was,
How
and at that
long
time,
had you been playing fiddle at that point?
2006, I would have been playing for I started playing fiddle basically in 2000. So that would have been, 6 years?
So 6 years.
Yeah. I started guitar in 99, so I probably started fiddle in 2000.
Wow, amazing. Now, I've never been to a state competition.
Mm-hmm.
What's a typical, you had mentioned Maddie Denton was frequently in the contest,
All the
but how many people typically show up?
At
Tell me about a fiddle championship.
So it's kind of changed through the years. Hearing stories from Jim and some people back in the day when they were going to fiddle competitions, there might be all kinds of people that showed up. And a lot of them would be not necessarily professionals in that they made their living from music, but they would be the best fiddle players on the planet. You had Fraser Moss, you had J.T. Perkins, you had Howdy Forrester, you had all of these people, Byron Berlin, all these people that were just showing up and playing and just winning all these contests. And then about the time that I started getting into it, there was still some pretty good interest in it, but a lot of those older hero players had passed on, so I didn't get to meet or compete against a lot of them, but I did get to compete against some of the people who were Jim's age, for instance. People like Daniel Carwile, amazing fiddle player. I think he lives in Kentucky now, but he's a great fiddle player, a great teacher, very technical player. He is just clean as a whistle. There's a guy in Huntsville, Alabama, I believe, named Mark Ralph, who was a dentist by trade, but he was just a fantastic fiddle player. And you could really just listen to him play a waltz and understand why he won that day, because he was just so smooth and clean and expressive in how he did things. So I really did have some heroes to look up to in my early contest years. Towards the later years, those people kind of stopped coming, and I think part of it was they had students that they would be competing against, and that got kind of weird. To be honest, that's one reason that I don't compete anymore. But the scene when I was playing was basically me and Maddie and a handful of others that you would always see at these competitions. Bill Jones, Tyler Randall, a lot of friends that I grew up playing against. And I hate to use the word against, but it was a competition. But they were just friends. We just, like I said, off stage, we just hung out and jammed the whole time. A lot of good friends, a lot of good memories from that scene. It was basically, I know that you have been to a mountain of bluegrass festivals. It's basically a bluegrass festival, but instead of a band getting up there and playing, you have just individuals in the competition. But you still have the arts and crafts booths all along the road. You still have they still had a couple of shows at a lot of these festivals where bands would get up and play. They had band competitions, so a lot of bands would be there for that. There's plenty of jamming out around the shade trees and everything, just like a regular bluegrass festival. So it was very similar. There just happened to be a competition going on.
That's awesome. Well, after that, we talked about your cross-pollination with instruments.
Mm-hmm.
In 2013, you won the Alabama State Mandolin Championship.
I did, yes.
Did you, after you won Tennessee in fiddle, did you kind of feel like, okay, I've accomplished what I need to accomplish in fiddle, now I'm going to focus on a different instrument? Or
no, not at all.
What was
I had always entered multiple instruments in some of these categories. I say always. It wasn't every time. Fiddle was my main priority. But every now and again, in fact, the first competition I ever won when I was still taking lessons from Cody Kilby was a guitar competition in Smithville, Tennessee. It was 1999. I'd been playing for probably 6 months, and I went up there and got first in the 12 and under category. So I'd been doing other instruments in competition for a long time, but it was mostly fiddle for sure. Once I started getting into the fiddle side of things, I did kind of focus on that. But I was still playing other instruments, and I would still go play shows on other instruments. But I just decided one day while I was there at this competition, I thought, shoot, I'll enter the mandolin and the guitar competitions. Why not? And I ended up getting first in the mandolin, and I think I got second or third in the guitar that day.
You can't win them all.
Can't win them all. That's exactly right.
Heaven forbid, hypothetical scenario situation. You can only grab 2 instruments.
You know, it's funny.
What are the 2 you're going to take?
My anxiety-ridden brain has thought about this before, and I would need 3 hands. I would need 1 hand for my fiddle, which my main fiddle is actually right over here. This guy, the audio listeners can't see this, but this is holding a French violin from 1781. This thing is almost older than America. But it is just a fantastic instrument, so I would need to grab that. It's been my baby for a long time. My mandolin that I play now is a red diamond mandolin. Guy up in Athens, Ohio makes them, named Don McRosty. But I just love this mandolin. I've loved every red diamond that I've played, so when I saw this one kind of come down in price at Carter's, I had to nab this, and it's been a great mandolin, so I would have to grab it. And also, I have 2 guitars made by a guy named Chris Bozung, Bozung. He passed away a couple of years ago, and I have 2 guitars that I had him make me in, I think, 2002, maybe, that are twins. I have a Dreadnought and I have an OM. And I really like small body guitars, so if the house was on fire and I had to take 3 instruments, I would say it would be my 1781 French violin, my red diamond mandolin, and my CB OM, the orchestra. I think it's called an orchestra model, whatever OM stands for. That's that particular small body guitar. It's basically a triple O shape. I just love all 3 of those instruments, and I don't think I would be where I am without them.
Well, hopefully you never have to make that decision, but
I hope so.
That's you bent the rules slightly on that, but we'll let it slide.
Yeah, I just gotta. I don't know that I could pick 2, so I gotta bend the rules.
I'm going back in, flames and all.
Yep.
If I don't make it out, it'll be okay, right?
Yep, that's fair.
We're gonna take a real quick break for a message from our sponsor.
1, 2. It's a big purchase, it's a big deal. Trevor Shaw knows exactly how you feel for refinance or a new home. Trevor Shaw will help you get your loan. Trevor Shaw will help you get your loan.
Hello, I'm Trevor Shaw. I'm not just a bluegrass aficionado. I'm a bluegrass aficionado that's a mortgage loan officer at Chat Mortgage in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I'd be honored for the opportunity to help you get your residential mortgage loan or refinance anywhere in Tennessee and Georgia. From veterans using their hard-earned benefits to first-time home buyers needing down payment assistance to retirees finally getting the home they've always dreamed of. Call or text me today at 864-50-TSHAW. That's 864-50-TSHAW.
It's a big purchase, it's a big deal. Trevor Shaw knows exactly how you feel for refinance or a new home. Trevor Shaw will help you get your loan. Trevor Shaw will help you get your loan.
Chat Mortgage is powered by Almeida Mortgage Corporation, NMLS number 271603. Chat Mortgage is located at 6205 Lee Highway, Suite 301, Chattanooga, Tennessee, 37421. Phone number 423-591-9801. Trevor Shaw, NMLS number 929381. Well, obviously, you had mentioned your fiddle contests, and coming up, Randy Steele and the High Cold Wind are going to enter the Telluride band competition at, I believe it's the 41st Telluride Bluegrass Festival. And I don't know if you've familiarized yourself with some of the previous winners, but Dixie Chicks won the band contest.
Oh, wow.
In 2006, Green Sky Bluegrass won the band contest, and they frequently, I've heard them say, that kind of was the launch of our career. More recently, Little Smokies, Trout Steak Revival. In 2022, Full Chord, friends of the show, won. In 2023, the Fretliners that I've spoken about several times in the past have won. This is potentially a really big deal.
It is. I have not familiarized myself with the festival as much, But I have heard people talk about the winners, and I did know most of those. And we're in some pretty good company there participating in this contest. So I really hope that we can go up there and do some good. But I mean, those are some big shoes to fill if that's the case. All of those guys have gone on to be very big bands.
Do you know who you're competing against at this point, or is it just
I don't
you
think
show
we
up
will
and
know until
we'll find out then?
Yeah, I think we'll have to just find out then. I mean, honestly, I kind of like that. It's like a fiddle contest. You get there and you don't know who's gonna show up that day, and you get to see like, oh, did you know so and so was here? Oh, I just saw what's his name. And it's just kind of cool to get to see who you run into at these things. And I kind of like that mysterious part of it. That's one of my favorite parts about festivals is getting there and not knowing what you're getting into.
Have you been to Telluride?
I never have. No, I've never been west of Texas. So I'm very excited to go out to Telluride and to see any of Colorado. We're actually playing a couple of things on the way out there. So it'll be nice. We're going to swinging through Denver and then going up to Telluride. So that'll be fun.
Fantastic. It's I've never been either. It's a bucket list festival, and
awesome.
I know you've heard me talk about it. I'm still trying to find a way to pull it off.
Absolutely. I hope to see you there if we can.
Just depends on the time of day.
Yeah.
I need to figure that out. But when you guys, I assume you made the decision as a group because it's a big deal. It's 1,600 miles away. It's not easy to get to. I assume you made the decision as a band, hey, let's do this. This could be an amazing opportunity. Unfortunately, the band contest, you're covering your own fees and expenses, and you even have to buy a ticket to the festival.
Right.
It's not like a other festival where you're paid to be there. No, you're paying to be there.
Right.
It's a privilege. If I remember the structure, but I believe round one is three 3-minute songs, correct? Does that sound right?
I think it might be 10 minutes total, and then you just have however long to play those 3 songs. I know that's how it is with some of the Texas fiddle competitions, a lot of the Western things, Oklahoma and all that. A lot of them say you have this many minutes on stage, you have this long to play 3 songs. So you don't necessarily have to cut one short or whatever, but you got to be off the stage by this time.
10 minutes, start to finish, 3 songs. Mm-hmm. And then I believe if you advance the second round, it's probably 7 minutes or something, because I want to say it said 2 songs.
Okay.
How did you guys know right away what songs you wanted to play, or was there a lengthy discussion and experimentation? And I don't want to know what the songs are.
Sure.
Right? It's a secret as far as I'm concerned.
That's fair.
But yeah, what was the process kind of going through narrowing those down, or was it instantaneous?
No, it wasn't instantaneous. We definitely have had to put a little bit of thought into it. With Justin, the bass player, Brad, the guitar player, myself, and Randy on banjo, and Randy writing all of the things, we've been playing together for so long that we just know a lot of Randy's songs. And Randy, as you know, because you know Randy, is a really good songwriter. So he has a lot of good ones. So when we were thinking about which ones we were going to do, it was not that easy of a decision, not because we didn't have enough songs, but because we had a lot of things that would work. I believe the rules for at least this first round are that you have to do 1 fast tune, 1 slow tune, and 1 instrumental. And Randy has written fast tunes and slow tunes and instrumentals. So we have plenty of material to work from. So basically our task is figuring out which one of those offer the most bang for the buck, so to speak. Which one of those are going to be the most impressive in a competition. And honestly, I probably have more competition experience than anyone in the band. So they've been asking me a little bit like, what works? What do we do this time? And just kind of figuring out how competitions work, because some of those guys have never entered any music competitions. I know that Randy has entered a lot of songwriting competitions, but we've kind of been having to think through this strategically. And I think a large part of why I was so successful in my contest career is because I knew how to play the game. I knew what the judges were looking for, and I knew to play to my strengths. And whereas some people would go out there and just play something as fast as they could do, I knew that if I went out there and I played something a little bit slower but put some good groove into it and played it really clean, that would score more points than just blasting off playing 180 miles an hour. So we've kind of been thinking about this a little bit strategically as far as what songs we think would go together and which songs we think are impressive and which songs we think we just want to go do because we love those songs. There are a certain number of songs that we just love playing no matter who wants to hear them, just because we like playing them. And I think it's kind of a careful blend in a competition between being uniquely yourself and playing to the judges.
So 10 minutes, 3 songs, all originals, round 1.
Okay.
And then if you advance to round 2, how do you decide you want to save your best songs for round 2, but you also want to make sure you advance to round 2? Did you have a lot of concerns? Do you open with your 3 best songs? Or do you reserve a couple? How did you make that kind of decision, thought process?
So when I was growing up, again, in fiddle contests, this is something that, oddly enough, we haven't really talked about as a band, but when I was growing up in fiddle contests, I lost a contest because I didn't have enough songs. I got through the preliminary round into the finals, and I tied in the finals. This was early on in my fiddle contest days. And in the finals, first and second were so close that they said, shoot, let's just make it a tie and make them play again. And when they did that, I did not have a song ready. I had songs 1, 2, and 3 ready. I had songs 4, 5, and 6 ready. I did not have a 7. And because of that, I lost that contest. So my advice as an experienced competition goer, I have advised the band, we got to have everything ready to go. Have some backup tunes. Don't go there with just enough, because it won't be enough. You know, you want to have more than enough material ready to go. And I feel like good bands don't have a problem with that. I've also seen other people do that in competitions where they'll get there and same thing, they enter a tie and they just don't know what to do because they already played their good songs. So the absolute best strategy is just have more good songs. But
gotta have a full bench.
Yeah. But it doesn't necessarily mean a catalog of like 40 of your greatest hits. We're not the Eagles or something. But we want enough tunes that are clean enough, that are rehearsed enough to where we can go and just knock it out. And if we need a couple more tunes, we got a couple left that we can just whip out and play just as well.
So is it possible that there's still potential tweaks or changes to your set list? Or at this point, no, these are the ones we're going to run with?
At this point, we've pretty much decided on a handful of tunes that we're going to run with. But I like leaving the door open. Part of my strategy of having backup songs to play in a contest was due to the fact that I might wake up one day and just think, you know what, this song's not working for me. Let me revert to something else. And when you have extra options, you can do that. But if you don't have any extra tunes, then you have to go with whatever the set list says. So I think right now our set list is pretty set. What's funny is we've practiced them all equally well to the point we don't know which one is going to be our preliminary set and which one's going to be our finals set. So we're still kind of trying to figure out, because the thing is, you want to practice everything well enough to be a tune that can win the thing, right?
You want to win all the rounds,
right,
not just the first one.
Yeah, so you don't want to, and I've seen people play it safe. I've seen people say, well, I want to save my best tunes for the finals, so they play their less than best stuff for the preliminaries, and then they don't make it to the finals. And I've seen people kind of blow it early and they just play all of the best stuff up top. They make it to the finals, but then they don't have the gas to get forward through that round. So again, ideally you want to have enough songs that could all be your best song. But it's just strategy. It's just trying to figure out how well you know each other, how well you know the music, how well you know music in general, and just your own kind of automatic ability to just muscle memory your way through the thing and not worry about messing up.
That's amazing. And then if you win, you get to play the main stage in front of everybody, correct?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, if you win, you get a guaranteed spot at the festival next year.
I think you get to play the main stage for a song or two this year, too. I think the top 2
actually,
play
yeah,
the main stage this year.
That does ring a bell. That's That would be a
Okay.
great possibility. We would love to do that. Our goal is to go up there and win.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, you said you've never been west of Texas,
I haven't.
so this will be the first time you're going to be in 11,000. Well, maybe in Europe, perhaps, because you did do some touring in Europe. But you're going to be at 11,000 feet.
Yeah, that'll be the highest I've ever been, for sure. When I was in Europe, I played in Belgium, a little bit in France. I played in Ireland and Northern Ireland, and a little bit in Holland, and that's it. So I haven't been in the Swiss Alps or any kind of altitude or anything like that. So this will be a little bit of a physical shock for me, I'm sure, but I'm somewhat healthy and young, so I'm not too worried about it.
Does the altitude affect instruments at all?
It does.
I didn't even think about that.
It does, just because a lot of the way instruments work is through moving air, and when air is thinner, there's less of it to move. So they're going to sound a little bit different. I haven't been up this high, but I know that they will sound a little bit different. I know they're going to respond a little bit different tuning-wise. The action might be a little bit different when we get out there, and that's just something we're going to have to kind of hope doesn't change too much, because it's not like we're going to get out there and have a luthier there to reset up our instruments. So I imagine nothing will change too much. It'll probably sound a little bit different. Tuning will be a little bit different, and that's probably about it. I haven't heard any kind of horror stories from people, so I imagine it should be okay.
Well, that's exciting. Now, assuming you make it to the main stage,
Sure.
I'm pretty confident, and if you don't win, I really want to see the band that does.
Sure.
But if you make it to the main stage, I don't know what the capacity is of Telluride. I never looked it up, but
I don't either.
what's the largest crowd you've played in front of?
So it depends. Are you including televised crowds or not? Because I've played in front of at festivals where I might be playing to 500 or 1,000 people, but there might be 100 or 200,000 people watching on the live stream, kind of thing. The Smithville Fiddlers Convention always has a bunch of people watching. I would say that the most people I have played for in person has got to be. I'm awful. I'm the worst person to ask this question to, because I'm terrible at estimating crowds. But I would say 1,000 to 3,000 people. I know that's a huge range, but that's all I've got. So somewhere in that range. I don't play stadiums that hold 10,000. I don't play any kind of thing like that. But I have played some very big shows at some very big festivals. So I've played in front of thousands of people for sure. But I don't know what the biggest I've done would be.
Let's see if I can figure this out. So there's a really good chance if you make it to the main stage, that's going to be your biggest audience.
That would be
at
great.
that point. Historically, the festival's attendance was capped at around 10,000.
Wow. That is a lot of people. And
over time, the capacity expanded, and by 2013, capacity was increased to 12,000.
that is insane.
Now, they won't all be there, but you could easily hit 10,000 people
That would be great.
witnessing you
That
if
would
you
be
make it to the
amazing.
main stage. I hope so.
I try to
feel
play the
good.
same if it's 300 people or 3,000 people, I try to play the same if it's 30 people. As weird as that sounds as a performing musician, you think, well, you got to know your audience. You got to play to the audience.
You love the music.
I'm a music nerd at heart. If there was nobody in the room, I'd still be playing music. And I'm always that way.
Well, you'd be in the room.
The reason I'm in this is for the art and the craft. Certainly not for the money, and not for the whatever kind of fame would be involved. I kind of don't care. It's nice when people know you, but it doesn't do anything. So I'm in this for the music for sure. Like I said, if there was nobody listening, I'd still be playing.
What was the most exciting personal opportunity that you got to play with, whether it was a hero or just the most exciting opportunity that you played with?
Man, I should have thought about this question, but it's just such a hard one to answer because I have been fortunate enough to have played with so many people that I admire, which doesn't necessarily translate to people that people would know. One of my favorite people I ever got to play with is a steel guitar player named Doug Jernigan. Phenomenal swing steel guitar player, maybe the best. Just amazing, amazing musician, and nobody outside the musician world knows who he is. A lot of the musicians, most of the musicians that I know, don't know who he is. He's just an obscure kind of, random guy, but all of the swing people know exactly who he is. All your steel guitar players know exactly who he is. He's a monster. I got to play with him one time, had a great time. That was amazing. Yeah, and some that people would not necessarily think of as much. Mike Bubb, a bass player based out of Nashville, has played with Del McCurry Band, played with a thousand people. One of the best bass players in bluegrass. I got to do a couple things with him, man, and he's a hoot. He's just so fun to hang out with, but he's also one of the best bass players to be around because he just drives the car and you just hop in and go for the ride. It's great playing with a really, really, really great bass player. Dennis Crouch, same way. A couple of people that I've played with have just been like phenomenal musicians in that it is a joy to play music when they are playing music. Not necessarily because of what they do, it's not flashy or impressive, but just the ride that they create is so powerful and so enjoyable. What's funny is if you ever see really good musicians hanging out with other really good musicians, they're laughing. They're just having a good time, and they're laughing about stuff. And it's like, did somebody tell a funny joke? No. They're laughing because of how much fun they're having, because they just didn't expect it to be this fun, and you get into the groove, and you can't help but just have an ecstatic time. It's awesome when music nerds get together and you actually get to nerd out over something that language can't describe. Your only response is to laugh. It's just great. You're just having fun. And it's something that you can't really explain to the lay people. It's just like if you don't play, you don't really. And I'm sure there's the same thing that goes in all other walks of life too. But in the music world, it's just, this is so fun, and I can't explain why. We're just having a great time because the timing meshes up, and it just tickles our brain the right way, and it is just the coolest thing. And we're just having a great time. And I have those moments with people who nobody's ever heard of. I have those moments with people in Chattanooga. I have those moments when I play big shows in Nashville. I have those moments when I'm just in a recording studio with a songwriter who has just written a really cool tune, and we're working on stuff. The smallest things up to the biggest shows. There's something about playing music that is it's an extra sensory experience. And I don't mean like ESP, Sixth Sense kind of I See Dead People kind of thing. It's really more like an actual physical sense. Understanding music and playing music with people is a physical perception that I get to enjoy that I can't explain to people. It's like when you taste really good food, or when you see a really cool movie, or to continue the exaggeration here. But basically, there's a sense that music imparts upon my brain that makes me happy that I can't explain to people until they learn to play music, which is one of the reasons that I teach music, is because I want people to know that. I want people to know how cool it is to play music with people.
That feeling. That's awesome. Well, and you are a full-time teacher.
I am.
In addition to all the duties with High Cold Wind and other bands, and you teach everything: fiddle, guitar, mandolin, dobro, I believe.
Yeah. So I don't really even play much dobro, but somehow I have a dobro student. That's right. Yes. And it's
just not banjo.
I don't play banjo. No, I'd say I take that back.
What do you have against the banjo?
I can play 4 or 5 songs on banjo. My reason that I don't play banjo is the same reason that I don't play drums. And it's because I like playing air drums so much that I think it would just ruin the magic. I think if I actually learned how to do it, it wouldn't be cool anymore. And with the banjo, I can play probably 4, 7 songs, something like that. Just enough to get myself into trouble, not enough to get myself out of it. But I realized at a certain point that if I were to get quote-unquote good at the banjo, I would have to put in so much time into that instrument. And I already have so many instruments that I play, and I just can't do it all. And to me, the mystery and the mystique of the banjo is something that's always intrigued me, and I kind of like leaving a little bit of mystery there. So if I never understand how to get good at banjos, that actually makes me happy because it leaves something on the table that I can still be in wonderment and impressed by. I really like that kind of thing, and I like having things that I don't know how to do. I like being around people who know how to do things that I don't know how to do.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And slightly sidetracked.
Mm-hmm.
In music, are you also a woodworker, an amateur woodworker?
I am. Yes.
Sort?
I've been doing woodworking for a long time now. Not as long as I've been playing music, obviously, because I was a kid. But yes, I do a lot of hand tool woodworking. I have a lot of razor sharp hand planes and chisels and saws and things like that I like to do small furniture pieces of. I've made some big things, like a big oak workbench that I love dearly that my grandchildren will curse me for having to deal with. But I have a lot of woodworking projects that I've done over the years. I'm currently in the middle of a kitchen remodel where I'm building all of our kitchen cabinets and taking that way too far in the realm of precision, way farther than it needs to be as far as getting everything perfect and level and flat. And yeah, it's not
a fiddle, it's a cabinet.
Yeah, I would starve as a carpenter for sure because I am so slow in what I do. I'm so slow and precise and methodical. I would never make it. But I absolutely love woodworking, and I think I love it for the same reason that I love music, which is the precision and the technique and the detail and everything. But mostly it's just doing stuff with my hands. I'm ADHD as all get out and always have been. And my teachers would always comment. My mom was a teacher. They'd come get my mom and be like, "Oh, John must have missed his medicine today because his hands won't stop moving." And that's what it is. My hands just don't stop moving. I like doing things with my hands. I loved everything from playing music to woodworking to video games to playing chess, playing pool. I just love anything that deals the manipulation of the hands. I have always just been enamored with doing stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's just music is just one of the ways that I express that, but it is by far the biggest way that I express that. But my other hobbies do involve movement to some degree. I'm a black belt in a martial art called Kenpo. I'm a Shodan degree in a sword technique called Iaido. So I've just always been into moving and doing stuff.
Oh, you're an interesting guy.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
We got slightly sidetracked. We're going to be running out of time here pretty quick. I'm really stoked for Telluride and what's coming down the pike for Randy Steele and High Cold Wind, and of course, you're a huge part of that. We're going to have you back after Telluride, share the experience, and hopefully we're celebrating the victory. It would be a lot of fun to have you back shortly after when it's still fresh in the mind. We'll kind of pick that up. Absolutely, and I haven't given up on trying to make it out there.
I hope you do. I hope you can make it.
I change my mind several times throughout every day if I can pull it off or rationalize, or it just depends on my attitude at any given time.
Sure.
But I wanted to mention one last thing I noticed on your website. Uh-huh. You should plug your website because that's how people get a hold of you for lessons or for session music. I mean, you're a musician for hire, correct?
I am. Basically a hired gun. I'm a mercenary here in Chattanooga. I play most of my shows with Randy Steele these days, but I like to play everything. One of the reasons that I'm hard to pin down is because I do so many shows, and the reason I do so many shows is because I like so much music. I like all kinds of things. I can't be pinned down to one thing. I had a call from Doyle Lawson one time, chose not to go out and do that thing. I had a call from Dalian Vincent one time, chose not to go out and do that thing. And a lot of people are like, why did you not get on the road with somebody by this point? And what it comes down to is I don't like the idea of just playing the same music night after night over and over again and just being at the behest of whoever tells me to do whatever. I like doing a lot of things. And as it is in my current state, a lot of my income comes through teaching. I wouldn't be able to do what I do without it. And I think that there's just all kinds of cool stuff and all kinds of cool music that you can't find in any one place. And I want to do it all. So yeah, to a large degree, I am a mercenary, I would say. I go play with whatever, whoever. I'm fortunate enough to have enough work, I would say, that I kind of get to choose which gigs I take. And I really like taking the interesting gigs that challenge me, things I haven't done before, things that I have to study a lot for. A lot of the kind of commonplace things that would be easy to go do, I don't do, because I want to leave more, but I want to leave room for the things that are interesting. And if I'm already booked with the commonplace things, I don't have room for it. So I purposely have had to back off on the number of gigs that I accept in order to leave room for creativity, let's say.
First off, I think most professional musicians would say you are the utmost successful if you can choose your own path and what you want to do. But you had mentioned taking on challenging things and unique things. This reminded me, you recently just did High Cold Wind, Randy and High Cold Wind. You did the Chattanooga Ballet.
We did.
Bluegrass to ballet.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm assuming you've never done anything like that prior to that.
I have. I've done similar things before. Nothing with a ballet troupe, but I have done theater productions where I was in the band. I did a thing at the University of the South in Sewanee. They did a play called Dark of the Moon, and I was in the band for that, and I helped arrange a lot of the music for that with my good friend and mentor, Gary Schäufler. He's been a huge part of my life. He's been a mentor since I was about 14, I guess. He taught at the University of the South. He's a world-class opera singer, among other things. But he also plays viola and guitar and fiddle and all these other things. He's just a really good musician. He's been a great friend through the years. But he got me onto this Dark of the Moon project at the University of the South. And we got to, basically they said that we had this kind of Appalachian-themed play that we needed to have some music for. So we arranged a few tunes, and me being more familiar with Appalachian stuff than Gary, he came to me and said, hey, what are some songs we could do for this? And together we worked up the music for this play. But it was a very similar kind of thing in that it was a performance, and we had to nail these songs at these particular times for this amount of time before they go into this next kind of thing. So it was a very similar level to what we did on the ballet. It wasn't quite as timing precise, but it was the same level of professionalism and everything to that kind of production. It was still a production that's bigger than you. Most people, when they play in bands and they play shows on stage and everything, they are the production. You know, if you go see Green Sky, they're on stage, they're playing stuff, they have their light show and their lasers and everything going around, they have their sound system and their in-ears or whatever, but that's it. That's just, it's all based around them. But when you do a ballet thing, or when you do a theater production or something like that, you are one small cog in a machine that is doing so many more things. You still have to do all those same things that you do if you're playing in a big, light and laser show kind of thing, but it's just one small part of everything else that's going on. When we were playing with the Chattanooga Ballet, and some of the songs that we did, the way Randy and Brian, the choreographer for the ballet, the way they worked it out is Randy recorded some Appalachian tunes and sent those to Brian, and he choreographed dances exactly the way that Randy recorded it. What that means is when we went to play them for the actual production, we had to play those exactly the way
perfect.
Randy recorded it. So if he left in a little extra songwriter measure or something, we had to play that every time. We couldn't miss it. Because if we do, it mismatches with him and people fall over, So we had to nail it exactly the way that it was from the point before. In live music, and I'm sure you know this, in live music, there's a lot of flexibility. There's a lot of language and and understood kind of unwritten rules that we all know and we all follow. And, if the singer's a little late coming into the second verse, we just hold on that chord for a second, and when he's ready, he'll come in, and then we just start. And it's just like a measure or so, maybe half a measure. But in the ballet, you can't do that. You have to nail it exactly the way
you gotta be perfect.
You practice with them. It has to be perfect.
Well, it was really cool to see. It was the only time I've ever been to a ballet in my life, and
nice.
It was perfect. You guys nailed it.
Well, I appreciate
no
that.
doubt.
Thank you.
All right, one last thing that I grabbed from your website. By the way, what is your website for the listeners?
I'm glad you asked. I have a couple of websites. If you want to find me, if you want to get in touch with me, johnboulware.com, JohnBoulware.com. That's a good way to get a hold of me. Just hit me up. I'll respond to you sometime. I'm bad about getting back to emails, but I will get back to you. And I also have a couple of educational sites. I've had a site called musictheoryformusicians.com, which is basically an educational site just dealing with just the music theory you need to know, not all of the whole site is music theory for musicians, not theorists. What do you need to know to actually play music? Not all of the details that you need to get a degree, kind of thing. And I also have started up, and I have a course that will be coming out soon on a site called mandocoach.com. It's going to be a mandolin instructional site, and I have a 10-day mandolin course that's going to be coming out sometime this summer, I hope, which will be basically your first 10 lessons on the mandolin. I think it's personally the best way to learn the mandolin. It's potentially even better than taking your first 10 lessons from me. It comes with all the tracks and all the tabs and all that kind of stuff. So that'll be a really neat course, mandocoach.com.
Cool.
And musictheoryformusicians.com. But if you want to just holler at me and say, hey, johnboulware.com.
That's awesome. I'll have those links attached in the liner notes on today's episode.
Excellent.
John, it's been great having you today.
Oh.
You've got some amazing stories to tell, and excited for Telluride. I see big things coming, and let's have you back in a couple weeks after Telluride.
Yeah, let's do it.
And we'll do the recap from there.
That'd be great.
Thank you, John.
All right. Thank you, Trevor. We'll see you next time.
All right. That was a great time, huh? John is such an entertaining character to talk to. Really enjoyed having him on. Really looking forward to having him back. Hopefully I can get it back with him in just a couple of weeks. We will have a new episode next week. It will not be part 2 to John Boulware because they're going to be in Telluride. And with any luck, I'll be on my way to Telluride by the time you're hearing this. I hope. Maybe not. We'll see. To be determined. But anyway, make sure to come back next week, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode of T. Shaw's Progressive Bluegrass. And at this point, I'd really appreciate it if you'd stick around for a quick message from our sponsor, which would happen to be me. Thanks so much. Catch you next week.
One, two. It's a big purchase, it's a big deal. Trevor Shaw knows exactly how you feel for refinance or a new home. Trevor Shaw will help you get your loan. Trevor Shaw will help you get your loan.
Hello, I'm Trevor Shaw. I'm not just a bluegrass aficionado. I'm a bluegrass aficionado that's a mortgage loan officer at Chat Mortgage in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I'd be honored for the opportunity to help you get your residential mortgage loan or refinance anywhere in Tennessee, Georgia, or Colorado. From veterans using their hard-earned benefits to first-time home buyers needing down payment assistance to retirees finally getting the home they've always dreamed of. Call or text me today at 864-50-T-SHAW. That's 864-50-T-SHAW.
It's a big purchase, it's a big deal. Trevor Shaw knows exactly how you feel for refinance or a new home. Trevor Shaw will help you get your loan. Trevor Shaw will help you get your loan.
Chat Mortgage is powered by Almeida Mortgage Corporation, NMLS number 271603. Chat Mortgage is located at 6650 East Brainerd Road, Suite 208 in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Phone number 423-591-9801. Trevor Shaw, NMLS number 92938.